Hi everybody. Hey, it's Lorina here. Today I'm going to do a couple of quick videos. I think that you'll find them quite interesting. First I'm going to start with some old Mormon myths. Lorina from the Mystical Ex-Mormon podcast. So this comes from my background growing up Mormon in Utah, behind the Zion curtain, as they used to say growing up there. And I'm kind of talking about it in a funny way. There are some very serious subjects around Mormonism that I could talk about too, and I am going to do that, but we're keeping it light today, and I think this is kind of funny. So when I moved to New York City, now this was a long time ago, to 1985, which was the bohemian phase. That's how I felt. New York City, it was really hard to get a lease on an apartment, and everybody was moving to New York. It was a very exciting time to be there. It was really hard to find an apartment. Managed to have lots of fun there and growth, and it was a really exciting thing to do. And one of the best things I've ever done, probably the best thing I've ever done in my life, was move to New York City from Utah. So very, very different. Anyway, so working in a hair salon, doing hair. And this, I think, was probably around the 1990s. So I had already been there for a little while. I got a lot of questions about being from Utah and being raised Mormon. And people would actually ask me if Mormons had horns. I know that sounds a little crazy. But going back in history, Mormon history, that was one of the rumors, was that Mormons had horns. And I never met anybody with horns. I'm just saying. But I wanted to say that because I heard things like that. And everybody would also ask, did you come from a polygamous family? Because a lot of people believed back then, probably not as much now, but back then there was less information about Mormonism out in the broader culture, more mainstream culture. People thought that Mormonism was based on polygamy, and actually, yes, it did come from polygamy. We know that. There are some polygamy deniers that exist now too, and there's a really vocal group, actually you can find them on YouTube, who believe that Joseph Smith never was a polygamist. He was a polygamist. But anyway, so growing up Mormon in Utah, I did not know any polygamists. There was a family that lived down the street from us, the Allred family, just down the street. They were rumored to come from the famous Allred family, who was a well-known group of polygamists. Their last names were Allred. Never got that confirmed or not. I mean, we were kids, But yeah, so there were a lot of rumors around polygamy, and we heard about polygamy all the time. It was just part of the culture that we grew up in, hearing about it. Okay, my dad, Mormons are really into genealogy, and I mean really into genealogy. It's part of the one of the things that they do in the religion of Mormonism. They do something called baptism for the dead, and that's why they do genealogy, so that they can go back through all of their relatives, see who was not baptized as a Mormon, so that they can do that in proxy after they die. And that's why they do genealogy work. And so my mom and dad did a lot of genealogy work. They were really into it. So in fact, they were really into it. They would go up to the genealogical library in downtown Salt Lake City, do research there. They were hardcore researchers around this. My dad's, I don't know how many times removed, grandfather was a polygamist. His name was Richard Quigley. He came from Ireland. He landed in the United States and was headed to California, and decided, somehow got stuck. He got stuck in Utah, converted to Mormonism, and had 3 wives. He was headed towards the California gold strike. He was looking for gold. That's why he came here. But anyway, he got stuck in Utah and he ended up with 3 wives. So I do have some long lost relatives somewhere. So I can't remember how many far generations this goes back, but there is polygamy in my family. And my dad would write up stories around that. They ended up in Idaho. Anyway, just a fun little story. I did not know any polygamists growing up. I heard rumors of polygamists. In some parts of Utah, when you drive through, especially more on the outskirts of Salt Lake City, outskirts of Nephi, you drive by and go, oh, that looks like a polygamous house. But hey, you don't know for sure. My uncle joined a polygamous group, my mother's brother. But this was after he had already been married twice and divorced twice. Decided he wanted to be a polygamist. He believed in it. He was really into it. He was very much into that old-fashioned polygamist teachings around polygamy. So this was, he was already old and he was deaf. He moved to Nephi and he joined a polygamous group. And of course was looking for a wife, but I think he was already about 72. He was deaf. I don't think he couldn't find anyone who wanted to marry him. But one day, just a cute, funny story. So I'm hanging out, this is many years later, in Phoenix with this guy I was dating, a boyfriend. We're watching TV, it's a Sunday afternoon. We're watching a show on polygamy. For some reason, it just happened to be on TV, so we were watching it. And my uncle shows up at the front row of this polygamy sect where my uncle is at the meeting. And he's in the front row. And I'm like, oh my God, that's my uncle. My Uncle Jay. And my mom would say, oh, he's crazy. Because he really believed in some of the old-fashioned, really old-fashioned, kind of really racial prejudice, patriarchal, all of this stuff. He was also brilliant and funny, but had a lot of really not good ideas about life in general. But that's who he was. Yeah, and he actually thought that he saw Joseph Smith in person come visit him at the hospital. He had some really interesting ideas. So he's kind of fun to talk to because he'd say, how do you know if a demon is visiting you or if they're real? And he said that, someone working for Satan, basically. If you have any weird visitations, like he did, Joseph Smith, he said, ask to shake hands with them. If they shake hands with you, then they're not evil. I think I disagree with that. I think there are plenty of evil people that I have probably shaken hands with. Anyway, just some of the wacky ideas that come from Mormonism and the belief systems. Anyway, I hope you enjoy this little story. I'll talk to you soon.